Mark Spencer here from rippletraining.com and applemotion.net with a quick tip about using brushes in Motion, or what Motion calls shape styles. So what are they? Let's go to the Paint Stroke tool. This is one way you can apply a shape style. Paint Stroke tool selected, we can click this little preset pop-up menu right here, and we get a list of the different shape styles that ship with Motion. There's a set of abstract ones, and we can see them all right here. I'm going to skip the other one. We'll come back to that. There's a set of fauna. There's a set of flora, garnishes, light strokes, liquid, textures, traditional, and you get the idea. A lot of great stuff in here that you can paint with. But you can actually make your own, and that's what I've done. I really enjoy working with these. There's a lot you can do. You can apply them, animate them, and you can see in my list here of bullets, I'd like to try to cover how to apply, modify, and animate them, and even look at 3D. Now, this one here, Brushes Floral Pack, is a set that I've created because I find these so useful. I've gone ahead and taken a bunch of leaves and blossoms and flowers and created a set of 30 different Motion shape styles that are custom. And if you'd like these as well, I'm selling them for a reasonable price. You can get them on my site, applemotion.net. There's a Brushes Floral Pack. There's 30 of them, and they're $9.99. And that's my little promo for this video. So let's get back to work here. So all you need to do is select a shape style from this pop-up. For instance, I'll go down and I'll select this pink daisy, and then I can just move the heads-up display out of the way a little bit. I can adjust the width, and I can just draw a stroke here, and bang, I'll get a set of these daisies. Now, I just want to explain a little bit about what's going on because I think you can figure out how to apply different shape styles. You can just go in here and select any one you want. But this particular shape style has some things applied to it, some settings applied to it, which may work for you and may not. So what I'm going to do is Shift S to go back to the regular selection tool. And then I'm going to go over to the inspector, to the shape tab, and I just want to point a couple things out. First of all, down here in the style section, it says play frames and random start frame. What does that mean? Well, if I hit F5 to open up the project pane, we can see that this paint stroke here is actually made from a movie. This movie contains several different pink daisies in it, so it gives it some variation. They're not all the same daisy. There's actually 3 different ones. So what this means, if I select the paint stroke again, is you can choose to play the frames, which really doesn't make sense in this case, but to choose a random start frame so that each daisy is selected at random from an individual frame of that movie, which is kind of neat and useful for some variation. The second thing I want to show you is over in the stroke pane here. There's a thing called brush angle randomness, which determines the angle of each of these, which helps the randomness here. Not so much because they're round to begin with, but it helps out. So you can see that's set to about 360. And then this thing called jitter. So if I bring the jitter down to 0, then you can see that those daisies follow that line I drew very precisely. But by increasing the jitter amount, it spreads them out and creates a more random pattern, which can be really useful in certain applications where you just kind of want a sprinkling or spray of leaves or flowers. It looks really nice. So you can use that jitter amount to determine kind of where they go. You can still go in and adjust the stroke. If you right-click, you can choose Edit Points and go in and select and delete any of these points or move any of these points to really have an additional impact on how these guys are spread out. And even better than that would just be to draw a clean line with the Bezier tool rather than using the paint stroke tool. So just to give you a quick idea of what I mean by that, I'm going to delete that pink daisy, and instead of using the paint stroke tool, I'm going to select the Bezier tool because the Bezier tool allows me to draw a very simple, very precise line, something like that. I'll hit return, I'll hit Shift S to go back to my selection tool, I'll make sure it has an outline with no fill and that it's decently wide, and I'll go back into the shape style pop-up menu. And once again, I'll just select this little pink daisy from my list of different shape styles here. And now I have a shape style with the same jitter applied, but if I go to edit the points, it's very easy to control here now. You can see how easy it is to change exactly how they follow that path. They can follow it in a very precise way or by increasing the jitter in a less precise way. So that's the basic idea of how to apply it and modify it. From there, it's really easy to animate these, and you can animate them in a bunch of different ways. One way would be simply to animate that jitter. I'm not going to do it right here, but you could set keyframes to have the flowers come in and form a very specific shape just by starting wide and coming close together. Another thing we could do is if we go up under the Add Behavior pop-up menu and go down to Shape, there's a bunch of different behaviors for creating animation here. One that I'm going to use here is Right On. You may have seen this before. If I apply Right On, I'll move my playhead later in time and hit O to make an out point. And if I play now, those flowers will right on. And this particular behavior is better for a continuous kind of stroke. They just kind of pop on here. It looks okay, but that's about all you can really do with it. You can have it go forwards or backwards or right on and right off. But in this particular kind of graphic, it doesn't work as well. So I'm going to hit delete. What I like a little better here is I'll click Add Behavior, Shape, and then Sequence Paint. And if you've ever used the Sequence Text tool, it's the same kind of idea. I'm going to trim its out point. I'll start playback, and then up here in the Behaviors tab of the inspector, I'm going to choose what parameters I want to animate. So I'm going to choose to animate the scale of each of these flowers. I'll set the scale to 0. I'll set the sequencing to from, so now they're going to scale up from 0%. I'll drag the spread down quite a bit so we can see each flower animate separately. There we go. And then those flowers each animate on the screen from 0 scale to 100% scale. I'll also add here, let's say, opacity, and drag that to 0, so they start out invisible and then they kind of show up. They appear, they come full opacity as they animate on. So you can kind of see where this is going. Let's use another one. Let's use rotation and add a little rotation so these flowers kind of spin as they animate on. And you can really take this as far as you want, but you get a sense of the power of how you can animate a paint stroke with the sequence paint behavior. Finally, just another little example so you can see some other options of how to do these things. Here I have a wall with some text on it, and I just used one of my custom floral pack shape styles to create some ivy along the wall. And you can see here, there's the paint stroke and there's the sequence paint behavior. So what I've done there is just animated it so that the ivy kind of grows on the wall. Right there, and animates up on the wall. So the sky's really the limit in terms of the different kind of things you can do. Another example of something you can do in 3D, let's look at this daisy spin, I think it is. No, we just looked at that, I'm sorry. The bay leaf. So here's an example of a 3D project. So these are real physical leaves. Everything in the floral pack are scanned leaves or photographed flowers. So they're all real objects that you can animate and work with. And those are all animated in a 3D project. If I orbit the camera, you can see that these exist in 3D space. So it's quite easy to have these things work in 3D space. Just one more example is this garland to show you this is another one of my preset floral pack shape styles. And I have them in the circle, but if I animate the circle around, you can see that it has depth to it. So it's like a real garland or wreath of these blossoms. So that's just a quick sense of the things that you can do and the power of shape styles. I hope that gives you some inspiration for creating your own projects. Once again, my name is Mark Spencer from rippletraining.com and applemotion.net, and thank you for watching.